30.
You have your mic on?
Got the mic on.
Okay.
I'm ready to go.
So you're going to do all your stuff first.
I'm going to do all my stuff
Okay.
first.
Perfect.
Got a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. I didn't think I did. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the June 2022 Mayor's Update. Today we're going to have two guests. Usually we only have one, but today we have two. We have Nancy Nave, our excellent Main Street Director, and Brian Weave, our also outstanding Finance Director. He will be joining us in a few minutes. It's been a busy month for staff and elected officials, as you might expect, and to that end, what I'd like to do, and I don't usually do this, but I'd like to just go through some of the business as usual items that the council takes care of. And they don't get a lot of public attention and that sort of thing, but they're the kinds of things that we do as a city to make the city run more efficiently, looking out for economic development prospects and things like that, and just take care of business. So, number one, we approved, as we always do at council meetings, several licenses, mainly wine, beer, liquor licenses, those kinds of things. Those have to be updated on an annual basis. We approved, secondly, several agreements for community benefit services. This would include places like the Events Center, People for Pets, Iowa Lakes Corridor, Main Street, and the city allocates dollars to these nonprofits primarily for economic development purposes. Thirdly, we approved the sale of land in the Green Industrial Park to Brian Bland. Brian Bland is bringing a custom meat processing center to Spencer. He's been working on this for quite a while, and he's been working with the corridor, with the city, and various entities, and we're looking forward to having Brian start the building process out in the Green Industrial Park soon. Fourthly, we amended a city ordinance to allow the construction of triplexes in residential Class A residential areas. Now, that may not seem like a big deal, but they weren't allowed in residential areas previously. So with the Planning and Zoning Commission, we worked with them. They forwarded it on to the City Council, and people will be able to build triplexes in residential zoning in the future. We also approved several fees and charges imposed by the city, all the way from campground fees, swimming pool, golf course, and then things at the transfer station and things like that. Now, we have those all in one place, and they will, I don't think they're on the city website yet, but they will be on the city website in the future. Sixth, we approved several agreements for contractual services with the city. The city contracts services with many different entities to carry out different services. A couple that were included in June were services with Solutions to take care of the city's IT concerns. We also approved contractual services with engineering firms, Cruz Caton Nelson and Bolton and Mink, and these are just annual contract services that the city has to approve so that we can do business on a regular basis. And then lastly, the last thing I want to mention is we approve various change orders on construction projects that the city has going, and also approved work that was done on those construction projects. And this would include the HVAC system at the library, the 18th Street sewer project, and so forth. And we've got several other projects heading our way in the future. So those are just a few business as usual types of items that the city takes care of that sometimes get overlooked in the consent agenda at city council meetings and things like that. So I just wanted to bring those out into the public notice. So to get to a few things that are on the front burner for the city, I've got a few things that I'd like to make mention of. And the first one that I'd like to lead with is the same that I led with in the May meeting, and that is the North Y intersection. And just a brief historical update on that. The city council and the county board of supervisors met in late April to talk about the presentation that was made by the DOT to both the council and to the supervisors. We met individually, and they made recommendations on what they would like to do with the intersection up at the North Y. After that meeting with the council and the supervisors, a letter was drafted, and Chairman Anderson and I signed the letter, sent it to the DOT. And what I would like to do is I would like to read that letter into the record so that the citizens have an idea of what we were asking of the DOT. And I'd also like to read some excerpts of the response that the DOT sent back to us on June 16th. So first is the letter that Chairman Anderson and I signed and sent to the DOT. Dear Mr. Schultz, the City Council and Clay County Board of Supervisors met in open session on Monday, May 9th, 2022 to discuss the alternatives presented by the Iowa Department of Transportation for improving the intersection at Highway 18 and 71. The conversation and discussion surrounding the alternative was engaging and thought-provoking. The Spencer City Council and Clay County Board of Supervisors could not come to consensus on endorsing a specific alternative. However, there was consensus on 3 points of discussion. 1, the Spencer City Council and the Clay County Board of Supervisors believe the Iowa Department of Transportation will ultimately design and build the safest, most cost-effective, efficient, and expedient alternative that will reduce accidents at the intersection and enhance commercial activity along the Highway 71 corridor. 2, the Spencer City Council and Clay County Board of Supervisors agree that offset T and R-cut proposals would be confusing and unworkable. 3, the Spencer City Council and Clay County Board of Supervisors would like more data from the Iowa Department of Transportation to further weigh the alternatives. Specifically, the council and supervisors would like information concerning why other alternatives such as stoplights, stop signs, more signage, flashing lights, and rumble strips, all designed to slow traffic, would not work at the intersection. Is there data available as to the effectiveness of these types of alternatives on highways such as Highway 75 south of Lamar's, Highway 141 in Granger, Highway 169 and Highway 14 in Mankato, Minnesota, and Highway 71 and 3? Finally, can you provide the council and supervisors pre- and post-accident data from Iowa or other states that have implemented roundabouts on 4-lane highways? The Spencer City Council and Clay County Board of Supervisors want the best and safest alternative for our community and those that travel on highways 18 and 71. We are not, obviously, the experts in traffic engineering and truly respect the work that you and your staff provide for the citizens of Iowa. Thank you for your time and help in this very important issue of concern to the citizens of Spencer and Clay County, and signed by myself and Barry Anderson. Now, I'd like to read also the response that we received from Dakin Schultz, who is the District 3 Director of the Iowa Department of Transportation located in Sioux City. Now, I'm not going to read you the entire 7-page letter, but I am going to read some excerpts from points that Mr. Schultz and his staff made to the points that were made from the council and the supervisors. So, first, he responds to traffic signals versus roundabouts. If the city and county's primary objective is to reduce the incidence of severe crashes, then the R-cut and roundabout options presented are nationally proven improvements for this goal. While the city-county letter declines to further consider the R-cut alternative, it's noted these continue to be constructed in surrounding states, including 20 locations in Minnesota, 6 in Wisconsin, 20 in Missouri. Based on Iowa DOT experience, conversion from rural divided median two-way stop control to a high-speed traffic signal often result in 0% reduction in fatal and injury crashes. The severe crashes instead shift from primarily broadside types to rear end types. But the rear end types can be severe due to high speeds, and ran traffic signal and left turn type crashes can still result in severe broadside collisions. Secondly, Mr. Schultz responded to traffic signal and all-way stop control. Improvements like stop sign and traffic signals, while familiar, are not always a safe choice. With intersections representing 1/4 of annual traffic fatalities in the United States and half of all injury crashes, proven intersection safety countermeasures such as treatments shown to the Spencer City Council and Clay County Board of Supervisors are the types of improvement the Iowa DOT feels the best applications for US 71 and 18. The US 71 and US 18 improvements completed on the intersection in 2015-16 have demonstrated a reduction in crashes from the years prior to the completion of the improvement. District staff feels leaving the intersections as is a better solution than traffic signals or stop sign control. Thirdly, corridor speed management. Another objective of the intersection improvement is to manage the speed on US 71, especially for southbound traffic. The city county letter inquired about more signage, flashing lights, and rumble strips. Rumble strips would only be utilized as part of a four-way stop intersection configuration, so they would not be considered as a standalone improvement. Motorists have an expectation of an upcoming stop sign with the presence of rumble strips. Additional signage and flashing beacons alone are unlikely to have a significant additional impact. The corridor is already visually busy with signs and adjacent land uses, and mainline flashing warning lights have shown only modest benefits. Overall, signs and flashers are considered lower cost, incremental temporary benefits versus a permanent solution. With that said, we are open to adding intersection warning signs with flashing lights for northbound and southbound traffic. Fourth, they addressed additional comparable roundabout crash data. Iowa does not have divided high-speed multi-lane rural roundabout intersections for comparison of before and after data. The existing rural roundabouts in Iowa are operating well, but they are all single lane for all approaches. 37 of the existing 117 roundabouts in Iowa have a multi-lane approach, and most are in urban or suburban contexts. And then they give locations of where they are. However, there have been several studies completed regarding the safety of rural roundabouts. An Insurance Institute of Highway Safety review of multi-lane roundabout conversions from signalized intersections or two-way stop control intersections show safety improvements of 90% reduction in fatal crashes and 75% reduction in severe crashes. The most relevant study was completed by the Minnesota Department of Transportation in 2017. It was one of the few that looked specifically at unbalanced multi-lane roundabouts. The intersections reported no fatal crashes, 76% reduction of serious crashes. Sideswipe crashes increased as expected, since the lower severity crash type is essentially non-existent at a two-way stop or traffic signal configuration. Fifth, they addressed an all-way stop, and this would be similar to what people familiar with the lakes up at Highway 71 and Highway 9. An all-way stop condition was not considered for several reasons. An all-way stop on a high-speed four-lane corridor does not increase safety because it does not meet driver expectation. A similar situation exists on US 20 in Woodbury County at Moville. The intersection has several crashes, including fatal crashes. Iowa DOT District 3 staff have identified this location as a candidate for intersection improvement that will include the removal of the stop sign. A similar situation exists on US 30 in Boone. The city-county letter notes that all-way stop at US 71 and Iowa 3 in Buena Vista County. As noted, that location is not comparable as it has about 1/3 of the entering traffic volume and provides single-lane approaches with right turn lanes and no left turns. The most important distinction for safety is that an all-way stop control crashes due to driver error when a driver does not see or obey a stop sign. At an all-way stop, they proceed as if it was a two-way stop. At a roundabout, the approach island provides deflection to slow down entering traffic and change the potential angle of impact between two vehicles, reducing the risk of high-severity rear-end and broadside right-angle crashes. The multi-lane approaches on US 71 would allow for potential sideswipe crashes, but these crashes tend to be of lower severity. And lastly, roundabouts with regard to truck traffic. Iowa Department of Transportation is sensitive to the freight importance of US 1871 corridor and has multiple nationally recognized roundabout design consultants under on-call contract for either roundabout design or roundabout peer review for such design details. If a roundabout is constructed, Iowa DOT will work with our counterparts at Minnesota DOT to understand their experience and incorporate the modifications constructed at these locations. That basically ends the letter that we received from the Iowa Department of Transportation. However, I want the public to know that we will put the letter that we sent to the DOT as well as their response on the city website. They have also provided, in addition to what I read, they have several links to various studies, pictures, and so forth with regard to their response. So it was a very detailed response. I thank the DOT for getting back to us. They took a lot of time with the letter in responding and have given us a lot of things to look at. But I would urge the public to take a look at that when they have time. So after that, we can move on to some other things and hopefully some better things. The community in June held our traditional Flag Fest community parade and festival from June 10th through the 12th. It was a great weekend for families. It was a great celebration. I think everybody, all age groups, had things that they were able to participate in over the weekend. Thirdly, the rocket slide. Many of you have commented on the rocket slide. The rocket slide is coming along. Construction in East Leach Park is progressing. I know a lot of people had donated money to the rocket slide construction, and there's a lot of nostalgia for the rocket slide, either those who have played on the rocket slide or watched their kids or grandkids play on the rocket slide, and it's looking great over there in Leach Park. One thing I forgot to mention about Flag Fest, and that is I really want to thank the volunteers who make Flag Fest work. And it is truly a community celebration, but it doesn't come off without a lot of volunteers giving a lot of their time and energy to the festivities. And I'd like to thank the city staff that also has to take a lot of time to get ready for Flag Fest as well. So I apologize for missing that. Fourthly, Emerald Ash Borer. I know that I've hit on this, I think, since April. But Emerald Ash Borer is here. It's here to stay. It's also with our friends now in Dickinson County. Letters have gone out from the city to property owners with ash trees on high priority areas in the right-of-way. Now, property owners who have ash trees in the right-of-way have a couple of options. If you don't want to do anything, the city will remove that ash tree in that priority area at no expense to the property owner. However, if the property owner does want to keep that ash tree in their right-of-way, they need to notify the city that they're going to treat that ash tree and also used a licensed chemical applicator who is registered with the city. So all you have to do is contact City Hall, find out who is registered to make those kinds of applications, contact them, and you can start your treatment of the ash tree. And then last, and this is pretty important kind of thing, I think, and that is what's going on with the Spencer Public Library. They have instituted their summer reading program, and this year it is being very, very well attended. From what I understand, the program started May 27th. It will end July 31st. It's not just about reading books and listening to books. They also, through the reading program at the library, have a lot of programming for kids, for teenagers, and adults. So I encourage people to take advantage of that as well. Now, in terms of what's coming up in July, there's quite a few things. First of all, you'll be receiving in your SMU bills a new recycling calendar. So take a look at that. And starting next week, by the way, with the 4th of July weekend and the 4th falling on a Monday, recycling and garbage collection, that will be pushed back a little bit. So note that. Secondly, we are looking obviously at a meeting with the supervisors to talk about the North Y intersection. Now, that said, this may get pushed into August. Scheduling anything during the summer is very, very difficult, and trying to get all the supervisors and the council together, it can prove to be a little bit problematic, but we're going to try and get that meeting done in a timely fashion. Thirdly, there's a possible sewer project that we're going to be looking at on 25th Street and 11th Avenue West. 11th Avenue West is the Hagedorn Heights area south of Menards. And that project was actually initiated by the citizens in that particular area. They brought it to the city's attention. Now, those kinds of projects, we would like that to move forward as quickly as possible, but there are lots of steps that need to be taken into consideration. There's engineering work that has to be done. There are easements that have to be granted. There are assessment schedules that have to be conducted. All of those things take time. And we're looking at taking the next steps in this project in July and August. So we're trying to move forward in a timely fashion again with that. Fourthly, at the last council meeting, actually prior to the council meeting, at a committee of the whole meeting, we heard a presentation on two-wheeled scooters that a company would like to bring into Spencer, and this was initiated by City Manager Dan Gifford. He's been talking to this company, and the council will be considering entering into an agreement with Bird Scooters. Now, there are 8 to 9 cities, as we understand it, in the state of Iowa that have contracts with this company. There are several others in southern Minnesota that have contracts with Bird Scooters. One of the big concerns that the council had with regard to the scooters was Grand Avenue traffic, which brings up a couple of things. Number one, bike traffic is not allowed by city ordinance on Grand Avenue sidewalks. Now, I know there are people that do it. We see that on a daily basis. But I would urge people not to ride their bikes on Grand Avenue. We don't want to cause any kinds of problems with the pedestrian traffic. And likewise with the scooters. We don't want the scooters to provide any conflict with pedestrian traffic on Main Street as well. And these scooters can reach speeds of up to 20 miles per hour, as I understand it. So we are looking into whether or not the company can geo-fence the scooters, and that would make them inoperable on Grand Avenue and Main Street. So the council will be considering that at the first meeting in July. Fifthly, Planning and Zoning has a meeting coming up on July 13th, Wednesday at 8 in the morning, and they've been working on an ordinance to allow for urban chickens. Now, the ordinance was brought up several years ago. Nothing really ever happened with that ordinance, but it has come up again. Planning and Zoning has looked at it several times, so the last 2 or 3 months at least. Planning Department has looked at this, and I'm not going to go into many of the details with regard to it, but it would allow for people within the city to have up to 4 chickens, no roosters, and they would have to be kept in various pens, and there would be some stipulations on those. But if the public would like to weigh in on that, July 13th is the public hearing for Planning and Zoning. And then lastly, before I turn it over, I would like to mention that this is the 4th of July weekend coming up, and it is a great time for family and friends to get together and enjoy fireworks and a celebration of the 4th of July. The community fireworks this year in Spencer are at the Clay County Fairgrounds. There'll be no grandstand seating. The fireworks will be going off on from the north parking lot. There will be seating for people, or people can use the west parking lot of the event center to watch the fireworks. And I'd like to give a big thank you to Jeremy Parsons and Bob Rose for raising funds for the fireworks this year. And they may be in need of more money, more donations. So if you feel like this is a really good thing for our community and feel a need to donate, you can talk to Bob or Jeremy, and I'm sure that they would accept a donation. I'd also like to encourage people to be responsible and considerate to their neighbors with their own fireworks. There are many pet owners whose pets have really a big problem during this time of year with regard to fireworks. And also, I think we really need to be considerate of our veterans who might be suffering from PTSD. It can be quite traumatic for them as well. That said, I want people to know that they should enjoy the 4th, obviously with their family and friends. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our first guest today, and that is Nancy Nave, our Main Street Director, and she's got a few things that she'd like to talk with us about what's coming up on Main Street. So thanks for coming in.
You bet. Thank you, Mr. Bomgaars. And again, I would like to give a huge thank you to the city. We couldn't do what we do without such great support from our city, that is for sure. So a few things that are happening today. I'll start with the sad news, and then we'll move on to happier news. It's the last day of the Lunchbox on Grand. Chris and Katie Davis have been running that, and they have been super successful, so that's not why it's closing. They don't own the building, so that is my hint to you about that. So please go grab lunch before we have to say goodbye, but Chris will still be catering. So we wish them the best. It's been nice having them down there. Mendler Coffee Co. has been open. They did a soft open last week and this week, and it's going great guns. They have all the kinds of coffee you want. They have smoothies. They've got frou-frou drinks, if you like that, and some pastries right now. That is part of Poema Design on East 4th, and they have opened up the store, so they've got outdoor seating, as does Peckish. So that's very exciting as a Main Street Director to have these 2 restaurants that now have sidewalk seating, and the reason we can do that is because it's not on the state highway. So they are open now from 6 a.m. until 5, and they still haven't announced their grand opening. They're waiting until their oven gets here, and then they're going to expand their menu as well. So we're very excited about Medler Coffee Coffee Co. Peckish Cafe, as I mentioned, has been open for a few weeks now. That's at the Hen House. They have salads and sandwiches, and their special oils. Of course, my phone is ringing. Bob Rose is calling me right now. And they've got fresh brewed tea. You can have it warm or cold, and they also have a little dessert too. So please check out the Peckish Cafe, also outdoor seating. Something I did today with the Clay County Heritage Center, Shelby Nelson is the director, and she applied for a grant and got it to get a summer intern. So the three of us, the intern's name is Kaylee Nightingale. She's a junior at Spencer High School. She is going to be putting together information for a walking tour, a digital walking tour. And so I'm so excited about this. It's going to be about the history of Spencer, and then they're also going to do one on the history of the Great Fire of 1931. So she's going to be gathering information this summer, putting it together, and then it'll go digital next summer. So that might include some QR codes where people can, put that on the building, and then it'll be voiced, and you can walk, and it'll explain if you've ever been to Alcatraz, something to that nature. So you'll use your phone, and you can plug in. So we're very excited about that. That is something that the Historic Preservation has talked about, Main Street has talked about, but Shelby got a grant, and they're getting it done from a high school junior. So we're really excited about that. We want to tell you that Goal Kick is officially packing up and moving out of downtown. They are not closing. They are just moving into one of the IGL storage units. Since they do mostly online anyway, they thought it just made more sense to open up that storefront to get someone else in there. Tom Nelson owns that building, and he did give me permission to say it is rented. It will be retail, and we're super excited about that. So Goal Kick, you can still go online and get all of your stuff. The whole world is ordering from them, so we're excited that they're still in business. They just won't have a storefront on Grand. Driven Soul Boutique is on West 5th. They have open regular hours now this summer. Bellamore Boutique, another boutique on East 5th, that's also open. Kaylee Roskin's Joint is taking over Stephan Furniture. Tim has retired, and Kaylee is buying the business. That's huge. So it'll be known as Stephan Furniture by Kaylee. She's reopening on Friday, and then her grand opening will be in a few weeks. And then my other update is Independent Art Co. You know it as Gary's on the River. Brock Storm and some people are renting space there, and they do tattooing, and they've got artwork. TG Photography is Taylor Geisinger, so she is there as well. So we're glad to see that space being used again. I haven't been able to highlight it on Facebook yet. They're still getting everything redone, but as soon as they give me the okay, I'll be down there to highlight that as well. And then Crazy Days is always the last weekend of July. That's the 26th through the 28th. And we do have one building that's still open on Grand, 324 Grand. Scott and Allison Simpson own that, so if you are interested, give me a call. I can get you in touch with them. But great things are happening on Main Street.
Thanks, Nancy,
You're welcome.
for coming in and giving us that update. And I don't know how you keep all that stuff straight. It's just great to see Spencer downtown booming as it is.
And we're really excited. We get to host the Main Street Iowa Fall Conference, so all the Main Street directors in 53 communities, plus Main Street Iowa staff will be here in October 18th and 19th. Great. Spencer hosts, so we have been already working on that. You'll see a lot of people here shopping, eating. We're going to meet at SCT. We're very excited about that. I was nervous about that when I first started. I'm like, I hope I never have to host. And now I can't wait to host because we have so much to show people.
We do have a great community to showcase, and I know you'll do an excellent job as hosting.
Yeah, I think so. I do host a good party.
Yeah, I can't imagine that you wouldn't. Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Bomgaars.
Thank you very much. Our next guest today is Brian Weave, our Finance Director, Deputy City Manager, and soon-to-be City Clerk if we approve the change in Brian's job title after Teresa Reardon retires here in the next month or so. At any rate, I asked Brian to come in because he's been integral with regard to the study that was commissioned by the city about a year and a half ago, I believe, and with regard to our solid waste rates and our sewer rates. And I'd like Brian to just touch on that. What citizens need to know is that they will not be taking effect immediately. Brian can talk more about when they are going to take effect, but and also Brian will probably touch on the thing that people will notice the most, and that's at the transfer station. There will be a minimum charge for people utilizing the transfer station. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Brian to just talk about those rate changes.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, exactly. Probably about 18 months ago or so, excuse me, or so, the city contracted with Public Finance Management. We use them for a lot of our financial needs and background and financial studies and stuff. And that was to really look at the rate structure that we have for both our sewer and solid waste operations. It had been too long to remember since we had really looked at the structure of it. We had always just, we had increased rates, not saying that rates hadn't changed over the years, but we had just taken what the previous rates were and added a percent factor to those. And so what really we wanted to do is look at is, are the rates we're charging appropriate? Are we capturing enough revenue to fund the operations and capital purchases? And then I think the biggest thing that the council was concerned about is, are we distributing those rates fairly among the people that are using those services and not making one class of users more burdened than others? And so I think that was really part of the reason why we did this rate study. And so what came out of it is that I'll start with sewer. Is that when we looked at it, what we've noticed is that really the graph, when you look at all of the users, on the low end of our users, we were kind of above the average. And so really you look at it as those lower end users, and we're talking under 50,000 gallons a month, really, we're being hit more than the larger users of the system. However, when we design the sewer system, it's designed to go for peak flow. So, if we have a lot of little users and then one major one, it's really that major one, and those big users are what the system is designed for. And so what you'll see is that there's going to be a change in the whole rate structure. Really, if you're a residential user in that 5,000 or average 5,000 gallons, your bill is changing very little. In fact, it may even be about the same or about 50 to 75 cents higher a month. And the reason that is on your bill currently there is a CSI charge. That's a combined sewer. It started about 12 years ago when the city had to start separating its sewer and storm sewer systems. Over the years, not only have the city completed those projects, we've also been making major upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant. We're in the phase 2 project right now, which is another $3 million project. And so really that revenue that's been designed and captured by that CSI charge is spread beyond just the combined sewer to paying off sewer debt. And so currently it's at $16.25 a month for everyone, regardless of your usage. And so one of the things that will change is based on your usage of the system, and that's going to be categorized by your water meter size. That CSI charge, which is now going to be called a debt charge, will fluctuate. So on the small users, which are residential mainly, those are going to be those 5/8 inch or 3/4 inch meters. Right now that's $16.25. That's going to go to $16.75 a month. If you have a 1-inch meter, that charge will be $28 a month. An 1.5-inch meter, $56. 2-inch meter, $89. And if you have a 3-inch meter or larger, it's going to be $223 a month for that debt charge. Again, the system's built on to take in the flow, and so the more water you use, the more sewer and sewage you're contributing to the system and due to the plant upgrades we have. The other thing that will change is in the past, you had our minimum charge used to be like $9.50, and that included the first 1,000 gallons of usage. The new rates, there is no included usage. The minimum charge is going to be $4.50, and that's just an availability fee, and that's again for those 5/8 or 3/4 inch meters. That's just to have the service, and then you'll be charged starting at gallon 1 going on up, and that rate actually went down a few cents. I think it's currently 507 or 508, and it's going down to 501. The other thing is it tiers. At the high end, when you hit 50,000 gallons, we used to give a huge discount, about a 25-30% discount in the rate. That's being reduced to only a 10% discount. So there's still some discount for those high users on their usage, but it's not as deep. The one thing to say is both of these rate changes, the revenue we're generating really is not greater under the new system. It's just a redistribution of the current usage and trying to place the usage and the fees to those that are using the system. I think that covers everything for sewer. The bigger changes, as we've kind of discussed, are going to be on the solid waste side. Again, it's looking at the fairness and the equity or equitable distribution of those fees. And so what has happened over the years is that as we've raised rates, the residential rate kind of tended to be the catch-all rate for any new revenue, and so that's where we've always seen the biggest or the rate and capture. And so that residential rate is really designed to cover the cost and to pay for your service at the curb. So that's 4 times a week, sometimes 5, depending on how many weeks they're in the month. But it's that curbside service, and really for that can and for us to drive the truck by it is really what we're gaining. As the mayor indicated, starting August 1st, there is going to be a minimum charge. We were one of the last, or not maybe the last or second to last transfer stations in the state that allowed free dumping out there. And so what that caused is that all those, you might have your can, fill it up and still bring 2 or 3 cans worth or garbage bags out to the transfer station. There's a cost to dispose of that. And so that cost, like we said earlier, was usually just getting rolled into that residential rate. And so as we're really going down to a service or a system of you pay, you throw, you pay. And so there is that minimum charge now at the transfer station. Recycling is still free, so there is no charge to bring that. The minimum charge will be $5, and that covers the first 150 pounds that you might bring out. Anything above that is going to be charged out at $60 a ton. So as you know, we've installed a scale about 13 months ago, and that's the reason the scale was going in, is one, to get a better track on the poundage that we're collecting, but then to be able to assess those fees fairly across the users of the system. The other thing that will be changing is if you have containers or dumpsters, we've redistributed those rates. We've looked at them and came up with a system that is, myself, the staff, and the council believe is fair. There was no real correlation between dumpster size, frequency of dump, and that compared to one another. And so that is now changed. Everything is now based off of a percentage. And so if you have a 2-yard dumpster picked up once a week, it's going to be, and then you go up to a 4-yard dumpster, there's that now correlation between the size and the frequency where there wasn't before. So those rates have changed or will be changing. On the positive note, as we did this, those that have the smaller dumpsters, the 1 and 2 yard containers, will actually see a slight decrease in their rates on a monthly basis, meaning we probably had those a little high to begin with. The larger dumpsters where there was a bargain, those are going to see some slight increases in those monthly rates. No, the rates for the special items, meaning the furniture, televisions, electronics, none of those are changing, except I should say, if you bring out furniture and stuff to the transfer station, that'll be now charged that per ton rate instead of an individual item rate. So where we're at in the process is the council has approved the rate changes at the last meeting. These rates will take effect August 1st. So there's still a month before, and then you'll residents will notice them on the bills that go out at the end of August, first part of September, that are going to be due September 20th, will be the first time you'll see these rates in effect. So, and we'll get all the rates for all of our services and fees up on our website in the coming weeks. We've put together a comprehensive list. So the solid waste and sewer rates will be there as well as all the other fees and charges that are for city services.
Okay, I would really like to thank Brian for coming in and explaining that. And this process, I want to reiterate, and Brian alluded to this as well, is that this process took a long time. It was started about 1.5 years ago. There was a contracted service, and I don't remember the name, PCM, is that?
PFM.
PFM conducted the study, and we had several committee meetings about this. They came in and made a presentation. They surveyed the rates of several Iowa cities and that sort of thing. So this wasn't anything that the city undertook in a light manner. There was a lot of study that went into it, a lot of time went into this. So just want the citizens to know that. And I want to thank Brian for his work on this as well.
Well, thank you, Mayor. One last note I'll make is if you some of those are larger sewer customers, in the next week or so, we'll probably, week and a half, we'll be sending letters kind of detailing the impact that you might expect, because those are going to be those ones with the 3-inch meters or larger, and have those larger bills. There will be a significant change to those bills, so we'll be sending out kind of a heads up letter in case you haven't seen that before, and kind of detailing what the impact could be based on past billing that we've received from SMU.
Okay, so in conclusion, for the June mayor's